Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Tonight is Tuesday, November 14th, 2017. The time is 6:37 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's okay. Well, everyone, please rise with me for the pledges to the American and Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Will you please bow with me in prayer? Father, thank you for this night that you have brought us together. I pray and thank you for the people convened here, and we are grateful for the opportunity to come together in an open forum like this. Father, I pray that you would be glorified in all that we do, and I pray that we would be conscious of one another's opinions and careful, quick to listen, and slow to speak. God, I pray that the truth would always shine bright and that we would cling to that. Father, we are grateful for all that you do for us, and we pray that you would be glorified in all that we do tonight. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. It's been a little bit over about 3 weeks since we have convened, and a couple of things have happened. Obviously, the tragic occurrence in Sutherland, Texas, and I think it would be appropriate for us to just take a moment in silence in remembrance of them. Thank you very much. Well, good evening. We want to welcome guests to our City Council meeting. The meetings of McLendon-Chisholm City Council serves and represents the citizens that reside inside the city limits of McLendon-Chisholm. In accordance with Texas state law, and except when convening in executive sessions, all meetings of the City Council are open to the public. However, unless either the presiding officer, the mayor, decides or the council votes to suspend the rules, only the council members may engage in the proceedings. Decorum dictates that those who are present be respectful of the opinions, statements, and actions of the council and other citizens who are present, especially when they may not agree with or take exception to the words or actions of others. Adhering to rules of decorum is less about showing respect to the council, but more about demonstrating respect for oneself and to all citizens of McLendon-Chisholm. All city meetings are governed by Robert's Rules of Order, and as such, decorum, defined as controlled, calm, and well-behaved, shall be required of all those present. The mayor, or in his absence, the mayor pro tem, is the presiding officer of all meetings. The greatest benefit of using Robert's Rules of Order is that it slows down discussion and debate. This forces both sides of an issue to show consideration to others' supporting or opposing points of view. Respecting decorum mitigates disagreements from escalating into arguments or worse. It can also help us to bring clarity to a point of view rather than rushing to judge the motives of others. Unless the presiding officer decides to take items out of order, all matters that are before the council will be addressed in the order according to the meeting agenda and Robert's Rules of Order. However, action or deliberation on any matter that is not included on the agenda cannot, by rule, be considered at this meeting. To obtain the floor, one must first be recognized by the presiding officer to speak, make a motion, speak to a motion, or discuss a matter. When someone is recognized, they have what is known as the floor. With the exception of the presiding officer, anyone that interjects while someone holds the floor and without being recognized is considered to be out of order, and such action will be addressed promptly. When one holds the floor, they should always address the mayor and not direct comments to or toward another person in the room, even if they wish to speak to something that a particular citizen or council member may have said. This can be accomplished by saying, "Mr. Mayor, I wish to challenge a point that Councilman Smith has made regarding," and then continue to the point. Only council members or the city staff may make points of order or points of information, both of which are interruptible motion. Most agendas include an opportunity for citizens that reside inside the city limits to address their representatives on the city council via citizen comments. This opportunity is not a platform for citizens to expect or demand answers from the council. Citizens who have questions of the council will be best served to contact members or the city staff directly, especially if there is an expectation of a timely and informed response. This opportunity is also not a platform for non-citizens or contractors with the city to address the city council. Individuals and groups that are not citizens of the city but wish to address a matter are welcome to contact City Hall. Contractors that have a concern about an issue that may come before this city council should contact the mayor, as the state of Texas has established the mayor of a general law type-A city as the chief executive officer. On occasion, the council may suspend the rules to accommodate citizen input from citizens present. In these instances, the following standards shall be respected. Discussion must stay focused on the topic at hand, and decorum is still in effect. As all business conducted at meetings is for the purpose and benefit of the city, unless otherwise indicated, when the public floor is made open, only citizens of McLendon-Chisholm who are present at the meeting may participate. A citizen that wishes to engage the council shall stand at the microphone and wait to be recognized by the presiding officer before commenting. After being recognized by the presiding officer, the citizen should state their full name, spell it out for more complicated names, and their street address. From that point forward, if they rise to speak again, they may simply restate their name after being recognized. Anyone observing the proceedings electronically are ineligible to participate. Citizens are not allowed to make motions, including points of order or points of information. For those who believe that an action or ruling of the presiding officer is out of order, or if you believe that an issue is unclear, you may alert the city staff by passing them a note. The broadcasting of city council meetings via the internet is for the convenience of our citizens and to enhance transparency and open government. The Texas Open Meetings Act establishes that while communications through an online forum are available to all logged on to the site from where city council meetings are broadcast, the communications are not occurring at the official and noticed public meeting of the city council and are not readily available for review and discussion by those at the physical meeting. Therefore, those who watch the meeting online are not considered to be in attendance, and therefore, when and if the floor is open to participate by citizens present, the council cannot include comments made remotely. At the advice of the city attorney, council members or staff should not respond to online viewers' comments. Doing so on a substantive issue may violate the Texas Open Meetings Act. Finally, the acoustics in the meeting chamber magnifies sound and noise. This is most noticeable when observers who are present comment to one another during session, which is both distracting to others and stifles the quality of the audio that is being recorded and or broadcast. Therefore, whenever council is in session, attendees should refrain from extraneous verbal remarks or exchanges inside the chamber, including at the rear of the room. Attendees who wish to converse during session should move their discussion outside of the chamber. As with any open meeting, all those present have the right to attend, but no one has the right to disrupt the proceedings. The presiding officer will make every effort to respectfully address anyone who violates decorum should they move or speak out of order. Those who disregard the motion of the presiding officer to comply with decorum may be asked to leave the proceedings in accordance with the Texas state law regarding open meetings by a governing body. Should an individual refuse to leave, the presiding officer may recess the meeting and reconvene after either the individual leaves or is removed by law enforcement. We move to item number 4, which is citizens' comments, and this is, as I've said, is an opportunity for citizens who reside inside the city limits of McLendon-Chisholm to speak to the council. Citizens should stand at the podium, state their name and address, and then express their concerns or questions. Because of the length of our agenda, we would ask that if someone has already made a point that you would either refer to that point and rather than reiterating it, and so that we can get out in a timely manner. We don't like to put a time limit on those who speak. We believe in the freedom of free expression. Note that state law does not permit the council to deliberate items that are not on the agenda. Concerns may be referred to staff or scheduled for consideration at future city council meetings. The floor is now open, and there's a button on the microphone that the microphone will actually turn red when you are able to, or when you're live. So the floor is now open for citizens' comments.
Robert Quinn, 1401 Carrara Drive in Sonoma Verde. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. The document I quoted from is, I dearly hope, recognized as part of the Declaration of Independence. It goes on to list grievances against and invasions upon the referenced rights. It and the Constitution are a heck of a good read, and I heartily recommend it be refreshed in one's memory often. I find myself reading both documents whenever a politician does something especially heinous as defined by their precepts. Frankly, Mr. Mayor, your recent city website post berating folks about spreading division and a lack of tolerance and decorum is, in my opinion, the height of irony. Said blog post alleged that there is a leftist conspiracy that needs to shut up and let the council do its job, and that all of our talking isn't going to dissuade you from doing what you believe to be the best for our city. Therefore, I stand before you today to repeat your words back to you. Shut up and do your job. Don't cast aspersions and blame. Don't make excuses and say others are not meeting you halfway. It's like a pitcher at the World Series complaining that the crowd is heckling them. Playing to the crowd is not your job. Representing all of the citizens of our city to the best of your ability is. We have a constitutional right to disagree with this council. It's no excuse for you not to do the job. As an American, I consider it my duty to stand up and give voice to my honest concerns and to defend the right of others to do the same. I and others are not standing up in the midst of a council meeting causing disruptions. We are not blockading access to the fire station. I think everyone on the council knows where it is and generally when it's manned. You pointed out that you are all volunteers, but that is no excuse not to act professionally. Volunteer organizations are only effective when they work together as a team. And treat with respect all who volunteer their time for the greater good, whether that is on the council or on the fire department or in any other capacity. This council is your team. To publicly berate a member of your team for doing their job and taking a meeting on terms other than those you have dictated, well, I promised certain members of the council I wouldn't be doing any name calling this evening. So I'll sit down and I'll shut up for a while and see if you guys can do the job you've sworn to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
Sonoma Verde. For me, I'll come at this from a different perspective. I agree with the comments that have been made. But as a mother of an incredibly medical fragile family member, for me, the lack of action from this council in procuring a contract with our fire department and therefore our emergency providers, I can't quite comprehend it. We lost our home in the Rowlett tornado. We have lost everything. And we moved here, as I shared with you previously, Mayor, because of the feel and the instant love and attraction we had for this city. I have been increasingly disappointed by the lack of response and transparency from this council. I do not feel that delaying signing this contract, of which you have had for additional time, and putting your citizens in jeopardy serves anyone's best interest, and I don't understand it. While I understand there are points that need to be further discussed and that there needs to be accountability for, safety should never be one of those that is up for debate. It should be what you are leading with your positions to ensure that all of your citizens are protected. I would ask, I would implore that you sign the contract that you have now, and if negotiations need to be made, set forth and do them for next year's contract. We always have that option, but do not continue to delay this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright.
My name is Rhonda Smith, and I live at 257 Quail Creek Road. My home was the one that caught on fire on September the 27th. The McLendon-Chisholm Fire Department did a great job putting the fire out in a timely manner and keeping the fire from getting into the attic and totally destroying everything that we have. However, that incident is all about me. Tonight, I would like to talk about the first time the fire department came to my home. Where we are located at, the homes on the right-hand side of the street and ourselves have a pasture behind us. There are 2 homes on the left-hand side and then several large pastures with acreage of 58 acres, 40 acres, and 30 acres. It was July 2014. My 17-year-old son and his friend wanted to pop fireworks. I told him I didn't think it was a good idea. Unfortunately, as teenagers do, they think they are smarter than their parents. We had had some rain, there was no burn ban, and it was legal. I went to work the next day, and my son and his friend went outside and popped some fireworks. One of the fireworks landed in the pasture behind us. My teenagers tried to put it out, but the fire was spreading faster than they could handle. Fortunately, someone else in the neighborhood saw the fire and called the fire department, and they were able to contain the fire and put it out before it could spread any further. We have all seen the devastation on the news concerning the fires in California. LA Times, October 23, 2017, stated the wine country wildfires destroyed at least 8,400 homes and other buildings. The death toll was 42. The deadliest California fire in history. About 100,000 people were displaced by the fires. This could have very well been my neighbors. Response time is crucial. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Good evening. I'm Mike Donegan. I live at 2620 Ridge Lake Lane here in McLendon-Chisholm. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to council and staff tonight. First of all, I just want to say thank you for your service. I know y'all have been spending a lot of time in council meetings and late night hours, and I hope that you're getting the progress that you're seeking. Y'all could help me a little bit. I've got a few questions that if maybe somebody from council could get back with me on, and I don't mean this to be negative, but I know it concerns me as well as some other people. When we gave back the hundreds of acres in the ETJ back to, gave it to the city of Rockwall, I can understand, the concern that council had on that land. But what I'm having trouble, and if somebody could get back with me on this, why did not the city get something in return for relinquishing that land in the ETJ? The next thing that I've got a question about is concerning the budget. And I'm sorry that I wasn't here for a lot of the meetings there that concern the budget, but I noticed in there's no interest income in the budget. And I know in previous budgets there was always a line item for interest income, which has to do with the city investments, the cash reserves. So I'm wondering, what's the status of our cash reserves of the city? The next thing in the budget was, it seems to be a lot of expenses on terms of the city attorney. I know previous councils, previous administrations were very judicious in the times that they utilized the city attorney at the city council meetings, that if it wasn't going to be necessary, we didn't ask the city attorney to appear, and consequently save some of that expense. And it looks like that line item in the budget is extremely higher than what it has been in previous years. Another thing is the increased dependence on building incomes, building permits for city income. And I can tell you from previous experience when I served on the council, I wish it were true. I wish we could survive on building permits and fees, but we can't. Which brings to the last item. When the proposed city budget, it appeared to me that the city had budgeted the cost for the fire department within this coming budget, but now we're coming back and having some concerns about how to process the contract with the, or to go forward with the city contract with the city. And ideally, I'm just saying, it was the reason why the county had to do a contract with the fire department prior to the city. Is it a financial situation, or are there some issues with the fire department that the rest of the citizens need to know about? Thank you very much for your time and your service to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Donegan.
Good evening. My name is Bev Stibbins, and I live at 279 Partridge Drive in Quail Creek. My comments tonight are for the council and the fire department. From what I have heard and read, you have stepped back 2.5 decades to a time when the council and the fire department did not communicate, did not work together, and did not speak. It makes me very sad to see that that has happened again. So I ask each group, the council and the fire department, to please work together, get this fixed, and make us a community that can live peacefully together, knowing that we have fire protection and that everyone is striving to get along. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stibbins. Mr. Larkin,
Yes,
you're
sir.
in uniform. We talked about the contract issue, and if
I will not.
no, you're in uniform.
Yes, sir.
We've
Because
talked
I'm on
about,
duty. Sir?
I understand, we've talked about that. You're a contractor with the city, and the rules of decorum are clear.
I'm a citizen.
Yes, sir, you are, and you're in but you are in uniform.
Okay, so I'm not allowed to speak?
No,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you.
I hope everybody in this audience appreciates it. There's my rights.
All you have to do is go take your shirt off, and that'll be fine.
Jerry, you on 2711 Rochelle Road?
Hang on, Jerry.
I've lived here since 1999.
Hang on, I can't hear you.
I've been here since 1999. That fire department's never let me down. I don't know this guy, Scott Trumbull. but I've watched you this whole meeting, and you've never looked up. I don't know what you're doing over there. I don't know if you're on Facebook or what you're doing, but when people are talking, you should look up, look them in the face. Every other council member has, and you haven't. I don't know you, but
Mr. Owens, thank you.
It's Randy Davis, 691 South State Highway 205. I'm confused. Are we up here tonight to see if y'all are going to make a contract or not make a contract?
We can't answer. You
So
can't ask us questions.
Is this going to be an edict to you that, from what I've heard, that the people want y'all to get in contract with the fire department?
Again, Mr. Davis, I'm not trying to be difficult. We can't answer questions.
Can you answer a question why you haven't got
Yeah.
further along?
All of this is going to be discussed tonight by the council, but I can't answer it here. It's outside of decorum, and I apologize. But we are going to be addressing all of this. Yes, sir.
Daniel Lewis, 1223. Can you hear me now? Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Wayne. So also a number was given out that there was 2,000 citizens in McLendon-Chisholm. I would assume that y'all at least look at the census.gov. Maybe I'm wrong, but it shows that McLendon-Chisholm had 2,633 citizens. I didn't understand Mr. Turnbull's comment on blowing the budget. Y'all had a $80,000, I guess, budget for blowing the budget by that, and then you said you only blew it by 14,000. So was it 94, or was it the total number of 80,000? Mr. Heron, you said the chief made 6 figures. That was not correct as well. I don't know why you would say that. The chief, I believe, gets the same salary rate as the other firefighters. Feature blog on your website, you call yourself a libertarian. You also state that reality is not truth. I believe you like to make your own truth. That's what you're trying to do, create a problem where there is not problems.
Mr. Lewis, can you check your microphone? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Your line is off.
Yeah? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Lewis, can you check to make sure audio
Can you
is
check?
going through YouTube?
I can hear it now. Okay. I know that people stated that these meetings take way too long. As you pointed out, Mr. Butler got in an accident because it went too late. How many other people must get hurt before change is made? I'd like to, not think that someone's life is endangered before we got policies for our fire protection or other things. I know the Commissioners Court didn't agree with you and voted unanimously against your ideas because they didn't want to use people's lives as a bargaining chip. I know that you called everyone a leftist who are against you. I don't think we should be degrading our citizens or our constituents. And we definitely shouldn't be doing it on the city website, posting pictures of crybabies and such like that. You also said last meeting that we have a superior fire protection service, which I agree with. And the head of that is Chief Robert Jones. So that must be stating that he's doing a great job. If we have superior service, we must have a great leader. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Welcome, Mr. Larkin.
Thank you. Herman Larkin, 8 Green Hollow, McLendon-Chisholm. I want to bring to the council's attention that, first of all, I'm really disgusted with the fact that you campaigned and said that you were all about small government. And all I see is the most intrusive, hands-on government I've ever seen. So that's just a point. But let's talk a little bit about a lot of the rhetoric going on about county contribution to fire service. I'd like for us to remember that there are contributions other than cash that are made. There are real contributions. For instance, the county provided $57,200 worth of assets to enable the fire service to work this year. Brand new assets at no cost to the city. Okay? Brand new radios for a digital system, which will use the new digital tower that was constructed at League Road and 205. In addition, this city does not pay for dispatch services like every other city in the county. The additional cost for that radio equipment, dispatch duties, and such could drive the cost of fire service up significantly for the city if the county were not doing something to help supplement that. I suggest you remember this when you take on the county about not making a contribution towards the unincorporated area, and I do realize that that service also applies to within the city, but it is a contribution nonetheless that we would have to endure if it wasn't provided. It is a huge contribution. I would say the same thing about the police service that we get when the sheriff's department gets dispatched. I'm just very disgusted. The fire department would like nothing better than to continue operating as we do, which means when we are dispatched, we go. We don't second guess the call from dispatch. We don't care if it's a minor accident. We don't care if it's a lockout. If we're not busy fighting a fire, why should we not be providing a public service to our citizens? What is the problem with us going out to help someone? What is the problem with us getting behind a vehicle and turning on our lights and helping change a tire? Wow, I just thought that was being good citizens and caring about the people that you serve. That's what we do. The other thing I'm going to say is I have seen countless attacks against Chief Robert Jones. Let me tell you one thing right now. Chief Robert Jones is the messenger. He speaks the voice of the entire membership. He never says anything that the entire membership hasn't voted on and stated that they want him to go forward with. He is not an entity or an outsider who's out here to break the city. Okay? He is someone who has dedicated over 10 years of service to fire, to public safety, to developing all this. He has a lot of knowledge about how this is done. That's why he is the chief. But he acts only on input from the membership. He never does anything independently. So stop the personal attacks. Next time when you want to say Chief Robert Jones did this, just say the McLendon-Chisholm Volunteer Fire Department did this. Please take the personal attacks out of all of this. And with that, I will quit.
Thank you, Mr. Larkin. Are there any other citizens?
Lorna Kippett, 31 Fireside Drive. I respectfully submit that the mayor stop using the city website as a bully pulpit and stop the political rants. You're all insulting and hurtful.
My name is Justin Hood. I live at 287 Pheasant Hill Drive. So I work in the fire service as a living as well. And I've been on the side of talking with city and coming up with justifications for certain things. And I guess I just want to give a little bit of the insight to how that goes to the council, and also just encourage the people here that this is, we're going to get through this. We're going to have fire service. We're going to have good fire service from these great people back here, and it's going to be negotiated by these great people up here, and it's difficult right now, but it's not all that abnormal at all to have disagreements from the council in a city service. That happens a lot, especially when you start getting into professional contracts and things like that. Okay, so I feel like that if we've gotten into this area where if I disagree with you or you disagree, then it's, well, then you're hateful or this or that, or you're not for the Bill of Rights. Or I just want to encourage the council as well as the fire department, just come back to the table. Citizens are here because they care. There's personal reasons. It's not an abnormal process for there to be disagreement here and then there to come back and work through this. But the word rhetoric has been thrown around, and there's been some rhetoric thrown around as well to say, well, if the council doesn't sign this contract right in front of them right here, then we won't have fire service, your family's going to be in danger. Okay, well, we still have service. There's going to be service. But I don't like trying to be scared into that. There's reasonable people. This is a good town. There's good people here. And I think this can simply just, you guys come back to the table. Come back to the table, sit down. There are concerns. And anytime they're trying to steward every one of our dollars that come through. That's what we elect them to do. They're trying to take care of us with the equipment and the people that they have. That's what's going on here. And there are some things that are being thrown out there from both sides that aren't fully true. Okay? So because we've gotten off course a little bit. We've gotten off course. And I just want to encourage you guys to get back on course, come back together, bring truth to the table, bring real capabilities, bring real dollar figures, do all that, and I just want to encourage the citizens as well. There's nobody in here that doesn't want fire service. There's nobody in here that doesn't like firefighters. There's nobody in here that is not for, even everybody up here, there's not for you being protected. Okay? We want to do that. We want to. So before this gets too out of hand, in my personal opinion, I just want to ask everyone, please just realize that this is going to get done because there's good people on both sides. Both would probably admit they made some mistakes along the way in rhetoric or whatever, but let's not use any tactic other than truth, true capabilities, true stewardship, and come together and get this done. But this is not an abnormal process. It happens in big cities, small cities, and thank you both for your service.
Thank you, Chief Hood.
Mark Biffle, 13 Fireside Drive. I moved here in 2013, and I've met the fire department a couple times, and they've done everything to help me. I don't do much talking, so Mark Biffle, 13 Fireside Drive, which I probably need the fire department more. I got an unlucky number 13. I moved here in 2013. I live on Fireside. And I see there's a lot of people here from Fireside, so Fireside cares. Saturday the 4th, at midnight, I woke up, walked out my back door, and I saw flames above 40-foot trees towards McLendon-Chisholm. I called 911. My wife happens to work out with one of the volunteer fire department, so I have his number. I called him. He said, I'm putting my boots on. He said, call them back and just tell them to dispatch the McLendon Fire Department. I called him back. This took like 3 or 4 minutes. I didn't get all the stuff, but I can get that information. But he was already up making phone calls, and they were already on their way. It turned out it was somebody having a party, burning a brush fire. It was right behind the fire department. It just amazes me that, we need a fire department. I'd rather have a 24, but I understand that's not possible. My wife has lost her home twice. The reason we moved here, like another lady said, is because what does McLendon-Chisholm have? We have a fire department. That's about it. You know what I mean? We don't have a whole lot of security. I got a grandson here, the only kid here. I teach him how to do things right. Stuff I hear, one of my neighbors called me one day. I guess you and my wife got into it, and he thought that you were pretty disrespectful to a citizen and a woman. We sat here and prayed. Let's follow our prayers. You know what I mean? Like this guy said, we can work this out. These guys are great guys. I went up there to thank them for a fire hazard I had. I know there's only 2 officers on duty. Well, a year and a half ago, there was a hailstorm. 2 of the guys were running around getting gas or doing something at the gas station, and I asked them if they'd come by and check a fire hazard out from a contractor. They showed up. My daughter said there was 5 or 6 firemen during the day. So these guys don't only come when they're on their paycheck. I wasn't there. My sister said 4 or 5. The chief and a bunch of other guys, they come and did it, and I just went up to thank them. They're selling shirts. They ended up, the money they sold, they sent it to breast cancer. I mean, these guys are good guys. I don't know I don't do Facebook. I don't do all this internet stuff. I don't know what everybody's talking about. I know my neighbor called, said someone up there was real disrespectful to my wife. That doesn't sound like godly prayer. So if we're going to pray and do God, let's do it 24/7. You know what I mean? So even he said this stuff's getting a little crazy here. And you know what? And that's a 10-year-old child. So I love McLendon-Chisholm. I love the fire department. I love the city. So let's, like I said, figure all this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biffle. Other comments? Okay, hearing none, the citizens' comments will now close, and we'll move on to the other area of the agenda. And I have just on a side note, I have told the council that we're going to end at 10 from now on, so that we are so I'm not killing anybody along the way. So you don't like staying up watching, do you? I understand. Okay, we're going to go to item number 5, minutes. I'm seeking a motion to either approve the minutes or approve the correction. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Turnbull has the motion. Is there a second?
I have to.
I'm waiting for a second.
Second.
Okay, you're going to second? Councilmember Balcom as a second. Do you need to speak, would you like to speak to your motion, Mr. Turnbull? No. Okay, Ms. Balcom.
I have to say that only to the one that's amended.
You have some corrections on the amended version?
Yes.
Which one of those is it?
September 12th.
Do you want to delay, or do you need to, do we have the corrections?
Yes.
Okay. And are they on our, they were the ones that we were looking at?
They are not. They are, I think there were 4 clerical mistakes.
Okay, so they're not material? Okay, knowing that they're not material, with the understanding that September 12th minutes there are some corrections that are immaterial to the content, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, the motion passes by unanimous consent without objection. Moving on to item number 6. I am seeking a motion to approve the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission from their meeting of October 12th to approve the preliminary plat for lots 1 and 2 and accepting the withdrawal of lot 3 by the applicant. Is there a motion? Councilmember Woodham?
Yeah, motion.
Councilmember Woodham with a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Turner with a second. Councilmember Woodham, you have the floor to speak to your motion.
I don't really have a whole lot to really talk about, other than the fact I just want to be clear that we're talking about lot 1 and 2 of block 1, and then lot 3, block 1 has been pulled back.
Mr. City Planner, you are here to confirm that, but yes, that's my understanding as well. Mr. City Planner, Mr. Coker?
Yes, Mayor, where do you want me to speak from?
From there.
I really thought that the issue today was just the plat, and it's preliminary plat to plat all 3 of the lots, because we generally do not leave a tract with a portion of it unplatted. Has nothing to do with zoning. So what I believe the Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended, and that you're considering this evening, is actually the preliminary plat for lots 1, 2, and 3. Has nothing to do with zoning, has only to do with platting, and that would then set up all 3, that entire tract, which is currently unplatted, as platted lots. Lot 3 is currently zoned agriculture. This has nothing to do with zoning. This only has to do with platting, and that is creating these lots for future use. And the current zoning and the future zoning on Lot 3 is agricultural. Mr. Miller had withdrawn his request on zoning for Lot 3. And so what we're really considering tonight is the platting, creating those legal lots, not land use, lots. And the recommendation that the Planning and Zoning Commission has sent to you has been amended to require access between lots 1 and 2, but not lot 3. That's one of the conditions, that the future zoning and improvements that are required as a result of engineering be consistent with the requirements of the city of McLendon-Chisholm. So as a result of the Planning and Zoning's recommendation for preliminary plat approval, we're asking you to look at all 3 of those lots as a preliminary. Then what will happen is this will come back as a final plat for Planning and Zoning Commission's consideration as well as the council's consideration. And one of the things that has happened since this application was submitted was the thoroughfare plan was amended from the northern city limits to the southern city limits, and when this was to be 6 lanes divided with 150 feet of right-of-way. The old thoroughfare plan, starting at FM 550 and heading south on State Highway 205, only required 120 feet of right-of-way because the thoroughfare plan recommended at that time that it only be 4 lanes divided, and that was what the standards were for a 4-lane divided roadway. With the adoption of the amended thoroughfare plan that now calls for 6 lanes divided from the northern city limits to the southern city limits, we need 150 feet of right-of-way. From 550 south, I have only got 120 feet, so we will be requesting that Mr. Miller dedicate as a function of the final plat on Lot 1 an additional 15 feet of right-of-way adjacent to State Highway 205.
So does that confirm like right now, but he will come back and that number will be to 150?
It won't be to 150, but it'll be to 120 plus 35. I mean, plus 15, because we are going to take 15 feet off the west side of 205 and get the other 15 feet from the other side of the highway. So it'll end up being 135 feet of right-of-way at that intersection for Lot 1 for the frontage on 205. And he's already dedicated 10 feet on FM 550 for the future expansion of FM 550 to be in accordance with our thoroughfare plan, which calls for 100 feet of right-of-way and a 4-lane divided thoroughfare when 550 is improved.
Okay.
Mr. Coker, what does this do to, where what are we calling it, where we're on the comprehensive plan, changing that comp plan on that Lot 3? What does that do to that?
This will do nothing to the comprehensive plan or the zoning for the property. Those of you in the audience, the council has requested that we amend the comprehensive plan future land use map because currently it shows that at the intersection of Cattle Barrens with the juxtaposition of 550 on the east side, that commercial land uses would go all the way from 205 adjacent to 550 all the way to Cattle Barrens. They're requesting that we amend the comprehensive plan future land use map to show that the commercial portion on the future land use map only incorporate lots 1 and 2, not lot 3, which is the part that's adjacent to Cattle Barrens and that wraps around behind the Brookshire's grocery store tract. Is that clear?
Mr. Woodham, are you comfortable with that?
All right, so that was a whole lot of words.
Yeah.
So to bring it all together, we're talking about these 3. And right now you're telling me they're one section, right?
Right now, that 6+ acres is one tract of land.
Okay. And the plating that you're talking about is going to establish the 3, right?
That's correct.
And then this one is going to remain
Agriculture. That's correct.
Okay.
Other questions, discussion?
As long as,
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Coker, on this plat here, it's showing these different angles than what is currently at right now.
That's correct.
Is that a text dot thing? Is that how's that going to happen?
What the council member is asking about is the intersection with 550 at 205 on the southwest corner. We've required essentially a radius, but it's actually an angle for additional right-of-way so that when 550 is improved on the eastbound lanes, there will be then the opportunity for a free right turn lane there that will then move on to Highway 205 when it's improved from the 2 lanes that we've got to 4 lanes and or 6 lanes, which is coming probably more rapidly than we anticipated earlier, but still it's in the future. Does that answer your question, sir?
Well, not necessarily, because right now we have, if you're talking about right of way, we're talking 40, 80 feet. If we're going from 2 to 4, there's nothing showing that this is now going to expand that.
Okay, I will take a look at
I was really more particular of, you've got the Shell station now where possibly, because the Texas having a right-hand turn lane, into 550, and then possibly a right-hand turn lane into 205 from 550. But right now, it is a 90-degree, not an angle.
I got it. On the final plat is when the dedication for the additional 10 feet will come for the widening of 550, the additional 15 feet for the widening of 205, and sufficient dedication for right-of-way for a free right turn lane from 550 to 205 when you're heading east to south.
Okay.
That'll show up on the final plat.
Any other questions? Discussion?
No.
All right, move to a vote. Is all in favor of the motion?
Wait, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Could you restate the motion, because I don't think it's what I...
Motion to approve the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission from their meeting of October 12th to approve the preliminary plat for lots 1 and 2 and accepting the withdrawal of lot 3 by the applicant. You're saying that it is not accepting the withdrawal of lot 3.
That's right, because the applicant for the zoning has withdrawn the zoning request on lot 3, but we need to plat lot 3.
Okay, so Mr. Woodham, would you be favorable to amending your motion to reflect the fact that this is approving the preliminary plat for lots 1, 2, and 3?
That's correct, and that is what the City Plan Commission has recommended to the council.
Mr. Woodham, would you be open to amending your motion?
There's no way to get around it, is what you're saying, right?
Well, I mean, you could deny it, but there's no reason for it, because this is, when a plat, not zoning, not land use, but a plat conforms to all the requirements of our subdivision regulations, the actions of both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council are ministerial in nature, not legislative, which means that if it complies, you're really obligated to say yes. Unless there's a reason that it doesn't comply, but this application, as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, does comply with our subdivision regulations.
Okay.
Mr. Woodham, would you be open to amending your motion?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Ms. Balkum, any objection?
No objection.
Okay, the motion is, the amended motion is what you'll be voting on to approve the preliminary plat for lots 1, 2, and 3, which is at the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission from their meeting of October 12th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. We move to, I'm going to, unless, Mr. Coker, you need to be a part of discussion, oh, he does? You want, okay, very good, that's where we're on this. Okay, moving on to item 7, seeking direction for staff regarding improvements to League Road. Who is speaking to that? Mr. Pascal?
Certainly, Mayor, I'll start on that. There is an agreement in place that provides for some repairs to League Road by the Sonoma Verde developer. The requirement to improve League Road from where the Sonoma Verde development intersects it out to 205 becomes effective when the development of that new area reaches out to League Road. I don't know the developer's timing on that, and I don't know when we might expect that, but that is one option available to the council for getting improvements to League Road, is to wait until that time, and then the developer will have to come forward and make those improvements.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we had this discussion previously, with the developers and saying that they were going to be responsible for that, because of timing wise, we as a city may have to come up front and get that done and then collect that from them.
That was one option, to get it done in an earlier fashion, but the developer is responsible to get that done. as you say, and I actually spoke to him just the other day and inquired about this. Their indication to me is once their funding takes place for Phase 2, which they're in the process of doing right now, they intend to start that repair immediately. So his estimation is sometime in February they'll be starting that repair.
If we took that responsibility on, would it be prior to February that could be done?
I don't think so. It's
Same,
it'd be, yeah, before we could get it done, it'd be an issue. But the responsibility to take on is, you know, it's over $100,000, so we would have to bid the job and see if someone, you know, could come in at a equitable bid and do that, because we'd be paying for it with city money and then being reimbursed. If we wait for the developer to do it, he pays for it with his money.
You understand Judy Moss is watching us right now, right?
I do.
Oh, is Judy Moss here? Oh, she is! I knew you were here. Yes. Well, I just said Judy Moss is watching us right now, so we know. All right, so Dave, give us one more update, because Ms. Moss needs to hear this. She's one of those on League Road. Please, go ahead, one more time, please. In the mic, into the mic. Make sure.
Conversation with the developer is that they intend to start the construction on the repair on League Road in February. This will be after they've received their funding for their second phase of Sonoma Verde, the bond funding, so they'll be able to pay for it. But they intend to move it up in their process rather than waiting for the school to be done, which was the initial conversation. They recognize that it's important that it get done as soon as possible, so.
Yeah, Russell Phillips, the developer, the development agreement didn't have that fixed until almost the end of the project. We're talking years away, so he's expediting it. How long will that take to finish once they get started? If it's anything like 1139, it'll be 2 years. All right, Mrs. Stibbins? Yes.
I don't really know. I'm not an expert in that field, but certainly they're going to get started and want to get paid as soon as they can, so the hope is they'd get it done as soon as possible.
All right.
May I ask a question? Sorry. Did we ever find out, like, what type of road it was going to be? Is it going to be blacktop, or is it going to be cement? Did we inquire about that?
Chip seal road.
A chip seal road?
Much like you see if you drive beyond where it needs to work now, headed towards Edwards, it's going to be just like that road.
Okay.
They just want to be able to not have to drive a four-wheel drive vehicle, right? That. No, we know that we got to move it. So we're moving on it. All right, thank you, Mr. Butler. So what, you need direction?
Just a status report because the question had been raised, so.
Okay, why did we need the city planner on this?
Mayor, I thought we were moving to the next item.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, I was trying to move ahead so we can get rid of our city planner.
And we do need it for the next item.
Not that we don't love you, it's just so we can dismiss.
And I'm looking forward to going home.
Yes,
on
I'm
time.
sure. Okay, let's move on to, okay, so with that, let's move on to item number 8. This is the time to conduct a public hearing to receive comments and take testimony regarding amendments to Chapter 14 of the zoning regulations pertaining to wireless communication and service facilities. I'm going to receive comments first from the city planner, Mr. Coker.
Mr. Mayor, at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to discuss this, we discovered that there was a disconnect between what we had brought to the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider and some other portions of our zoning ordinance. And so I had asked the Planning and Zoning Commission to table this until their next meeting to give the city attorney and myself sufficient time to fix that disconnect so that the council actually does have the opportunity to consider these kinds of requests, wireless communications towers, on a case-by-case specific use permit basis, and actually have a legitimate opportunity to do that. The city attorney and myself are currently working on this and should be able to have a revised document for the City Plan Commission to consider at the next meeting, and then subsequent to that, bring it to the council. And I think that you need to lump both 8 and 9 together on the agenda, sir.
Well, we're first doing a public hearing, so that comes before
Okay.
So, Mr. Pasco, did you have something to say, speak?
Yeah,
Say?
Mayor, I think we may have discussed with you previously, but we would request that since the public hearing was noticed for this evening, that you do go ahead and open it, that you do not close it and continue it until the next city council meeting.
Say that again. Do not close the
Correct.
public hearing?
Correct. We'll leave the public hearing open. It will be recessed and resumed at the city council meeting on November 28th.
Recess. So instead of closing, it's just a semantic
Correct.
issue? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Or continue, yes.
Point of information.
Yes, sir, Mr. Trimble?
Lisa, when's the next P&Z meeting scheduled?
I believe it is December 14th.
So we need to move this not to our next meeting, but to our next meeting after the P&Z meets.
That would be correct. Thank you.
So that would be December 26th, I believe.
The 19th, we have a meeting.
We had one on the 19th? Okay.
The 26th was canceled.
Right.
Correct, okay.
So we would have to recess it until the 19th.
All right, very good. So I'm going to open the public hearing now to hear comments related to the, regarding amendments to the Chapter 14 of the zoning regulations pertaining to the wireless communication and service facilities. The floor is now open for public comments.
I'm Mike Donegan. I live at 2620 Ridge Lake Lane, and my public comment has to do with anything that can be done to strengthen our planning and zoning regulations. I'm for it. But 205 coming through this city, any weakness that we have in our zoning regulations and how we see the vision of the city is just going to invite people to come in and determine the vision for the city instead of the city determining its vision. I understand that there's even, I know you can't comment on legal things, but I also understand that there's a potential legal suit regarding some of the circumstances in terms of wireless communications and cell towers. And I just asked the city council, if that's a fact, then it'd be nice for the citizens to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donegan. It's not on.
Drive. I just have a question about this change to the ordinance. Did I hear Mr. Coker correct that it will take the questionable placement out of the hands of the Board of Adjustments and put it in city councils? Is that the change to this regulation?
This is a public hearing. It's not a time for question and answer,
Questions?
unfortunately. You were on city council, you know this.
Hey,
But you can send that question.
Yeah. Sorry, Bev. Other public comments? Okay, I'm going to recess the public hearing until the December 19th
Yes.
meeting. And is there rebuttal comments from the city planner?
Mr. Mayor, just to remind the council of what we're trying to accomplish, we are trying to make provisions that are more consistent with zoning regulations that are dealt with by the Planning and Zoning Commission and subsequently by the council when it comes to considering communications towers of all kinds. And that's what this proposed change to the recommendations and to the ordinances are detailing for that reason and that reason alone.
So, Mr. Pasco, can we speak to it now? Or-
Mayor,
or-
I'm happy to answer any questions, but I really...
Can I speak to, can I just echo kind of what?
Certainly, absolutely.
Because it speaks to Mrs. Stibbons' point.
Sure, I think it's
Yeah,
proper.
so basically, our current ordinance basically says that if a radio tower company wants to come in and put a tower wherever they want to, the Planning and Zoning Commission has no right to review it, and then the process is typically to go to Planning and Zoning. Planning and Zoning makes a recommendation that goes to the City Council. City Council then makes makes the decision as to whether to approve or disapprove. That right or that power of the people has been taken away for whatever reason in the ordinance. And so the only thing that a radio tower has to do is go before a board of adjustment. They are the only thing that they have to meet with, and we did not understand, we're all scratching our heads why that ordinance was put in place, and so that is what we were trying to do. We're trying to amend that so that there is a due process in something like that. And yes, we have been very vocal about this. We've been talking about it for, I don't know how many months now about doing that. So maybe we can do a better job of posting something about it on the website, but that's the long and short of it. Any other comments or discussion on the matter? Okay, very good. So moving on, we're going to move to item number 9 because we need Mr. Coker, right, for zoning regulations, seeking motion to direct staff to amend the zoning regulation. Do we still need to do that?
No, Mayor.
Or we've already tackled it, haven't we?
Right, I don't think any action is required on that item tonight.
Great. Okay, very good. So, Mr. Coker, you are dismissed. Thank you very much. Okay, this is a time that we are going, the time is 7:48. The council is going to go into executive session to consultation with the attorney to conduct a private consultation with the city attorney to seek advice about pending or contemplated litigation or on a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act regarding Communications Tower Group, LLC versus the City of McLendon-Chisholm et al. And the City of McLendon-Chisholm Board of Adjustment, case number 317 CV 02658B, Indy, Texas. Regarding the fire station property at 1250 South Highway 205 in McLendon-Chisholm, regarding a proposed contract for fire protection services with the McLendon-Chisholm Volunteer Fire Department, and regarding an interlocal agreement for fire protection services with Rockwall County, including a mutual aid for fire equipment and fire protection services, and proposed billing practices for responses outside of the city, the McLendon-Chisholm city limits. This meeting is in recess to executive session.
Chickens.